I'm all about the good vibes, the good vibes. We bout to have a good time, a good time. Leave my problems all behind, all behind. We living out the good life, yeah. I ain't gotta worry about a thing.
Oh no.
Had some obstacles I overcame.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to ever be the same.
Oh Lord.
Cause when we change the mind, we change the game. Coming through clutch. Coming through clutch. Coming through clutch.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Kenny Clutch with another episode on the Clutchvision podcast. I'm not really sure if this is episode 24 or 25. It's probably episode number 24, and I have a very, very special guest. I know I say special guest a lot, but this guy is really, really special, guys. This man has been putting it down for years, almost probably over a decade. I've watched his videos on YouTube from the YouTube days when YouTube wasn't even that popping, to Facebook. He has over 7 million followers on Facebook, over almost 2 million on Instagram. It is the man himself, Mr. Inspiration. I call him Mr. Trent Shelton. What's going on, boy?
What up, Kenny, man? Thanks for having me, man, sharing your platform with me, man. How's everything going?
Oh, man, everything's good, man. How's the family doing over there in Texas?
Everybody's doing good, man. Just adjusting, to this quarantine life. So we have our ups and downs trying to figure this out. But,
Right.
it's a blessing getting to sit down and enjoy the things that sometimes we overlook.
Right. Yeah, man. Listen, our listeners are always looking for positivity. And I always say set the atmosphere. So I think we should go ahead and set the atmosphere a little bit with our audience. And I like to jump into our first question. What is your typical day? Like, how do you start your day in moving forward? Like, what's the typical day for Trent Shelton?
Before this or during this?
Before this.
Okay, before. Okay.
Yes.
So it's kind of the same. I would say with both, but yeah, it did kind of change, with this going on. But before this, my typical day would be, me waking up, protecting my peace. And so I always talk about that. I'm not gonna get too in detail, but it's 4 A's. Waking up with appreciation, affection, accomplishment, and activity. And so for me, protecting my peace usually means, meditation, and usually it's out in nature. I'm a big nature head. I believe nature heals. It's God's natural medicine for the soul. And so for the first half, I would say it's about 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock is pretty much me time. I take my son to school. I take my daughter to school at times. Me and Maria kind of switch off on that. But then I leave my phone, and I have two. So I have a phone that's a business line. I have a phone that's an important family line. And so the important family line goes with me. The business line stays away. And everybody in my team knows, my wife knows that, I'm taking this time for myself so I can fuel myself up, get rid of the negative things, that maybe negative thoughts, negative doubts, before 12 p.m. And then after 12 p.m., I pretty much open myself up to the world. So that's pretty much it, man. I just kind of follow that routine and knock it out.
That's dope. Now, how is it during this, even though that everything has switched? So now we're in quarantine, so it may be a little bit different.
Yeah, it's definitely different, man, because just to be honest, it took probably the first week, so probably last week before that, to kind of get adjusted, because I was staying up later, watching Netflix,
Right.
Getting undisciplined a little bit, just being truthful. And then I was waking up later. And so once I wake up, obviously my kids are there. My kids want to play. And I'm not going to say no because I'm having this time with them. And so what I've learned to do is just wake up earlier, before everybody gets up, do my protect my peace, go in the gym, the garage gym, which I'm in right now, and switch it up a little bit and get back to the world. And so I just make sure that I give time also to my wife to make sure she has the time to do her thing too. And so I think right now it's about coming together as a team more than ever to say, okay, you take your time away from the kids because we have 3 and a dog. And so you take your time to protect your peace. And then I'll switch off and take my time, and we'll collectively come together as a family and just do whatever. So we're having fun, man. I'm sure the kids, 3, 4, 5 years from now, or when they read this in history books, they're going to remember this as like, that was a crisis. Like, this was the time we had fun. Like,
Right.
We
got here wilding.
Exactly. So we just having fun, man, making the best of it.
That's what's up, man. So how important do you think it is for people to wake up early and just, in protecting that peace?
It's very important. And this is coming from a person that doesn't like to wake up early. Like, even to this day, I'm not a morning person. I never been, but I understand the peace in the morning, and nobody's really moving around. It's not crowded. and you actually can spend time for yourself. Because the thing that most people do, and I'm guilty of this at times too, is that we grab our cell phones. And I feel like it's nothing wrong. You're grabbing your cell phone to put out inspiration to the world, or maybe that fuels you up. But usually we're grabbing our cell phone as Russian roulette. Maybe it's an email that we read like, oh man, or somebody's, asking requests from us, and we're already in response mode. And the thing I learned with high level people, when I say that, I don't mean like celebrities or just people that I know that live at a high level when it comes to intention, when it comes to peace. They're very intentional with their morning. And so it's a way to start your day, because how you start your day will influence your day. So if you start your day off with stress, it's going to be kind of hard to turn that day around. But if you start your day off with peace, when you encounter stress, you're in a better place to actually put it in its right place. So I think it's everything.
That's dope, man. That's dope. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk to you about your motivational speaking career. Now, I know that you was in the NFL, you played football, pretty much all your life, right? And then you transitioned into motivational speaking. So take us through. How did you become like one of the top motivational speakers in the world?
Yeah, it's crazy to even hear you say that, because speaking was one of my biggest fears. Even to this day, I'm an introverted person. Like if you were to ask my father and my mom, they would tell you, like, I have two older brothers, so out of the three boys, I would be the least one to be a speaker. Like they would bet everything on my other two brothers because they're more extroverted than me. And so how it came about, obviously I lost myself in the NFL, went through depression. That was my everything. And I ended up linking up with a former college teammate of mine that ended up being a teammate of mine with the Redskins. And so we spent some time together. We connected more. And, I started just sharing my journey. It was rehab time. And rehab time for me wasn't for anybody else. Like it literally meant mind, body, and soul. Okay, I'm going to get into my word more. I'm going to read books. I hated reading books. I'm going to, make sure I get in the right environment, cut people off, get around the right people, making sure I'm doing the right habits and making sure I'm taking care of my health. And I started that process for me. And I started to realize as I was doing this journey, people started to ask questions. Like, hey, man, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? And so I started to share. And I made these 2-minute videos literally with my iPhone. The reason I made 2 minutes because I didn't want to watch anything longer than 2 minutes. So I'm like, if I see 3 minutes, I'm like, I ain't got time for that. So I want to give no excuse. And I just picked up my iPhone because I was like, I don't have a camera. I don't have a budget to get all this production. And I just spoke from my heart, man. And, it went across the world. And the thing I want to share with people about just walking into your fear, that same guy I was telling you about that played with me with the Redskins, Jonathan Evans, his dad is Dr. Tony Evans. So Jonathan was like, hey, come speak at this event. And literally, I didn't want to do it. He told me it was kids. And you know how it is, bro. Speaking to kids is
It's
tough.
hard.
And it was like 2,000 of them. So I'm like,
the truth.
Man, they let you know. And so it was a 5-minute speech. I tried my best to get out of it. And he just kept speaking into my life. He was like, bro, my sister is a powerful speaker. My dad, my whole family. He's like, you don't say much, but when you talk, people will listen. He's like, you have something inside of you don't even see in yourself. Make a long story short, I was supposed to go to arena football that next day. Actually that day, but I asked my coach, could I postpone it so I can speak? Get on the stage. I literally prepare the whole night before. I get on there, I freeze up, I forget everything.
Wow.
And this really helped me as a speaker, because in that moment, I had to say, God just used me. And I had to come from the heart. And it connected with them. And I realized at that moment, like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Wow. And I literally quit. I didn't go to New Orleans the next day. My coach was mad. And then I started rehab time. This is before anybody's watching my videos, really. This was before anything. And I wasn't making revenue. But this is what I knew was meant for my life, because I felt so much certainty in the midst of uncertainty.
Wow.
And I walked into it, man. And from that day, I would say probably half a year to a year late, probably half a year, that's when videos started to go viral and the whole rehab thing took off.
Wow, that's crazy, man. Like for me, when you're in the center of uncertainty, it's like, for me with my son Christian, like I wasn't a speaker either. Like I'm a professional dancer and, became a motivational speaker just recently, just like, 2 years ago. And it was because my son was, in quarantine pretty much. Like he was isolated from the world. Me and my wife, we were in the hospital and just dancing for him every single day, like 149 days straight in the hospital. And it was like the videos that we would put out, I saw people reacting to them in a different way. And that's when it hit me like, oh snap, like we're supposed to be out here motivating people. So it just like it hit me in a different way. Like I had this whole big dream though, like choreographing for Beyonce and like and Usher and Neo and people and Chris Brown, people like that. But then it's like sometimes God just takes you on this different route. Like, you know, like, listen, we're going to use this skill in a different way. And sometimes people fall into the wrong passion in a way. Like they're passionate about something, but you could be passionate, but like be doing the wrong thing all throughout life. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, what do you say to people that are they're passionate about something, but they're not seeing the success, you know, come from it? Like, and maybe God is trying to tell them something different. What do you say to people that are stuck in that, you know, that scenario now?
And it's hard. And when you're in this place, it's going to be hard for you to understand. And I just want to tell people, like, to open up your hearts and let God guide you, because you will look at, I mean, you hearing Kenny's story, right? You hear my story, and these aren't things that something that I wanted to do. It's not like I was like, man, I want to be a speaker when I get older. Like that was
right.
Thing.
Yeah.
But I say this quote, and it speaks to my heart. It spoke to my heart at that time, and I think it'll help people. Is sometimes you have to let go of what you want to do and grab a hold of what God has called you to do. And so some people might say, well, I don't want to do what God has called me to do. I can tell you this for a fact. When you're doing what you want to do and it's not wrapped up in God's will, it's probably going to be a lot of confusion, not a lot of peace, a lot of unfulfillment in that, even when you get to your success. And that's the thing. I think too many times people want to be successful. Like we take the world's definition. Like I want success. But I would rather have peace and rather live a purpose that might not make me famous or whatever, than to be a person that is famous, successful, but not fulfilled. And so God's plan for your life, I think it's always wrapped in fulfillment. And I think that's what we all want out of life.
Absolutely. Like success doesn't necessarily always mean finances or, you know, money and stuff like that. I think every person has their own level of success, but you got to have, you know, drive. You got to have passion. You know, where does your drive and passion come from?
Yeah, well, it comes from a few places. One, it comes from my struggle, man. And I know how it feels to be at rock bottom. I know how it feels to be depressed. I know how it feels to feel like, you know, listen to a podcast now, you're thinking about that's easier said than done, or that's for other people. Like, I know how it feels to be there. And so I really fight for people. I really fight for mental health. And that's why I talk about it so much. One of my best friends committed suicide because he lost something. So that's why a lot of my messages are about, like, if you lose this, you don't have to lose yourself. Also, too, of course, being a model for my kids and just my community, where people can look at my life and see that it's possible, whatever it is. They can look at me and say, oh, this guy has a black male with tattoos and dreadlocks, and he wears a cap backwards, and he's not the typical motivational speaker. Dang, okay, I can be myself and still achieve something. Right. And then for rehabbers across the world, that's my community, and just people in general that need help. I have a heart for those people in the world. And so that's why I do what I do. And it keeps me up, because I know there's people in the world, same with you, that there's hearts in the world that need our messages, that haven't heard our messages. And so that's what keeps me going every single day. Right.
Because you think about it, is 7 billion people plus on the planet. You know what I'm saying? And you know what's funny? Just to sidebar just a little bit. The real Brad Lee, shout out to my man Brad Lee, he asked Tony Robbins this question. He was trying to close Tony Robbins on his program for years. I think he said 6 years it took him to close Tony Robbins. And he asked Tony, he said, this is what helped close the deal to get on his program and use his software. He said, Tony, how many people come to your events? He's about 10, 15,000. He said, okay, well, what about the other 7 billion? And in that clicked on Tony, like, dang, like you want to help people, right? Well, yeah, I do, but only 10 to 15,000 people come to your event whenever you have it. What about the other 7 billion people in the world? So using his software pretty much like help propel that to more people. And again, you have 7 million or 2 million on different platforms and millions across the world, but there's so many more people that are coming into the world that need to hear this story and need to hear your story. And we just continuously tell it over and over again, just like Jesus or whatever, continue to tell his story over and over again. Like, it's the same thing, but continue to hear it. And I think what's so dope about your story is that you're so transparent, and you being transparent helps so many people because they see the real you. They don't see anybody fake. They don't see nobody, and they see somebody they can actually relate to. Like, how important is it for transparency for one's success and relationships in life?
Transparency is everything. I'll break it down to two parts. Transparency for myself is freedom. If I'm not operating from a place of freedom, I feel caged in. I feel like I'm operating from my mind, and not saying, operating from your mind is a bad thing, but I feel like if you want to connect with people in the deepest way, you have to connect from the heart, because from the heart, people can feel real. People feel related to. When you're real, they feel related to. And so I just know telling the stories that people can relate to, for people can look at me and say, oh, he's just like me. Growing up, I remember looking at pastors and going to church, and I'm like, I can never be that dude. Like, he's too perfect. Right. That's not me. And then when I started to listen to pastors, even my father, and I started to see, oh, like, you went through this with this too, and you still struggle with this, and you still, I was like, and it gave me more confidence. So I always think about that. And from the other standpoint, for people and why they need transparency is exactly that. They need a model to know that, okay, just because I have some bad chapters in my story, it doesn't mean my story cannot end well. Like, literally, I can change the page. And just people need that in this world. And we live in a filtered society. Most people are living a filtered life. You look on Instagram, people aren't really posting. And I've had struggles with this because you can start to get caught up in what's getting the most likes or what are people responding to, from a business perspective. Right. But at the same time, we live into this world where we're allowing these opinions and this social media world to control us, how we feel about ourselves. Right. And so people just need to see the unfiltered version. I think right now what we're going through, I think it's beautiful because everybody's unfiltered. Ain't no barbershops, ain't no nothing open.
We out here looking
unless you can cut.
You know what I'm saying?
Unless you can cut yourself,
Right.
So it's just beautiful to see that. People need to see that. I just think perfection sometimes can be a prison for people, and they need to see imperfections in a way of like, oh, okay, this person is imperfect, but has imperfections, but they're still progressing towards something better.
Yeah. And, that's one of the main reasons why I post Christian, so much in my family as well, because Christian was born with Down syndrome. And most people would sit there and look at that as a bad thing. We look at it as a blessing. And, when he had cancer, his trisomy 21, which is Down syndrome, actually helped save his life. And people don't understand that. Like, sometimes your imperfections on what people may call it is what is going to actually help you and propel you to that next level. He had an 80 to 90% survival rate because he has that extra chromosome in his body. If he didn't have it, then he would have had a 30 to 40% survival rate with the particular cancer that he had. So it's like, and we post Christians so much, just alluding to your point, because we want people to see like, yo, he's not perfect and neither are we, but he's continuously walking, continuously pushing, continuously getting to that next level, as well as myself, my wife, and our kids, man. So I think like that was an awesome point, that you just said there, and the one thing that I always see you post is protecting your peace, is what you alluded to earlier. If you can, give us the top 3 ways people can protect their peace.
Yeah, so protecting your peace, my definition would be basically disconnecting often, right? So it's disconnecting to the world so you can connect to your soul. And that looks different for everybody. But I think one of the top ways you can do it is working out. That's a way, whatever that looks like for you. Sometimes for me, it's a run, it's a hike. It's yoga, it's, prayer, just being in solitude, whatever that means for you. I think that's one way. I think another way is creatively. I think you locking yourself in an environment where you just can create, like you actually put that idea. I call it singing in the shower, right? And actually, like, we sing in the shower and nobody's around. We just sing at the top of our lungs. Then we get on the words like, oh, let me not say nothing. So it's locking yourself in that place where you can create that dream, that gift that's inside of you. And I think another way of protecting your peace is protecting there's so many ways, but protecting the peace of your family and your household and your environment, I think that's really big because, I'm just really big on not allowing the outside world to affect my world, right? My family and stuff like that. So I think those are 3 ways that you can do it, man. There's a lot of ways. So it's just basically disconnecting from the world and reconnecting to your soul. So whatever fills you up, whatever fulfills you,
Yeah.
I would definitely prioritize that.
Yeah. And you said something, just now, like with protecting your family and things of that nature, and just switching gears a little bit, like to protecting the family. Like we're going through, COVID-19, the world's on lockdown pretty much, and everyone is in quarantine. And the one thing that me and my wife were just speaking about this yesterday, domestic abuse and child abuse rates have skyrocketed since we have been in quarantine. What advice, or encouragement can you give to those that are in this situation right now?
Yeah. So I want to first tell you that it's not your fault. Sometimes we blame ourselves for the actions of others. And I know this is hard to even say, but don't take it personally, right? That's a person that is hurt. That's a person that has been through a lot of pain, that hasn't repaired their life or haven't healed their life. And so most people think that the best way to heal pain is to give pain. And so if you're in that situation, don't blame yourself, but go get help. There are plenty hotlines out there, plenty of people to reach out to. I have people in my inbox. I can't respond to everybody, but I have people in my inbox and I'll reach out to. So maybe find somebody online that you can reach out to, because you don't have to choose to suffer in silence. And there are codes where, because I know if you reach out, it might bring something else from that person, abuse. So there's ways that you can do silent codes, but just understand that you don't have to accept it and you don't have to stay in that environment. And I would definitely tell you to get out of it.
Yeah, definitely, man. And some advice for the parents, if I can just add on, man,
Yeah.
that are abusing your child, or if you're in this and you're listening to this, or somebody that's doing this, listen, I believe that we need to increase, number one, our faith, and we need to also increase our patience. And I believe that if we learn how to increase our faith and increase our patience, then we'll end up taking those numbers down. And listen, I get it. Like the kids, and you get it. Like, your kids are, they're home. They got a lot of energy, you know what I'm saying? And, parents don't want to be home right now. They want to be working. They want to do this. But maybe God is just saying, like, listen, I need you to sit down for a second. I need you to chill. And I need you to reevaluate your home. I need you to reevaluate the things that are in your life right now. And dealing with your kids and being there for your kids is so important. Like, how important is it for you to take time out just to be with your kids?
I mean, it's everything. It's everything. My biggest fear, and my wife, Maria, has to tell me, she's like, you already look out for us so much. Like, you don't put us, like, even with her, like, you don't put me in a position to tell you, like, you're traveling too much, or my kids. But it's at the same time, my biggest fear is for the world to be like, Trent Shelton is super successful, but I'm a failure to my kids' eyes. Because my kids see daddy. They don't see, rehab time, Trent Shelton. They see daddy. And I see so many people leave their children behind to go chase their dreams and in this space. And it breaks my heart, because I ask myself, what's going to matter when I get 90 years old? Is it going to matter that I reached all this success but don't have a relationship with my children? So it's very important for them to see that. It's very important for them to see, for my son to see, what a man is, and I have conversation with my son, just transparency of the things that I did wrong. He reads my book and he's asking me questions from my book. I'm like, you read my book? And he's like,
oh, snap.
Why would you doing this? So I'm like, okay, let me be more transparent with you at 11 years old to help you understand and where these decisions, because we do CNC, choice and consequences. Then my daughters, Maya's 3, Marley, she's 6 months. But even with Mar, I want them to see, what a man is, is supposed to treat, how a man is supposed to treat a woman. And so I always tell, it's a joke we have. I was like, it's gonna be hard for whoever you date. So I'm setting the bar super duper high. So it's important, man. Very important.
Yeah, I took my daughter out on a date for Valentine's Day. So I'm like, we gonna go out and we gonna have some fun. I'm gonna teach you, because she's about to be 16 next week. So I'm like, you gotta pray for me, bro. Gotta pray for me, bro. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I wanna got her the flowers, opened the door for her, things like that. Like, listen, this is what, men, should do. This is what they should do for you. If they want the house, they got to buy the whole house. They just can't rent a room in the house. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you got to get the entire house, and they got to give you the whole package, man. And I believe that, us as fathers, is so important to lead, our daughters and our sons, in the right way. And there's so many kids that don't have a father. I personally used to work in the YMCA, and there were, so many kids that I used to, they looked up to me or whatever. I'm like, hey, I'm Mr. Kenny or whatever to them. So it's like these are first, second, and third graders doing the morning and after school program, and you can just see like a lot of them didn't have their father in their life. And as fathers, we're leaders. Like, how important is it for a father to lead his family, especially during this time?
It's super important. I mean, the thing about it is, your kids, your family, they're going to see the energy you project. And it doesn't mean that you have to, fake it till you make it, but they're going to see how you respond. And the thing I know about leadership, even being parts of football teams and being captains and leaders, emotions are very contagious, and it trickles down. So the thing that I'm trying to show my kids during this time is that you can still thrive, even in uncertain times. You can still have faith, right? Faith is in your control. It doesn't matter what happens. And honestly, It's not faith if it's not tested. So right now in these times, this is when we believe even more. This is when we trust God even more than we're doing right now. And so just be very conscious of the energy that you're portraying out to your children, and then have conversations. One of the things that I talked about on my podcast this past week, it's like 5 releases, but one of the releases that we're having is emotional release. And so we're just creating an environment where everybody can just get out their emotions. So Maria, however you feel, get it out. You're afraid, get it out. And we address it and we talk about it, or we just listen and not say nothing. But it's an environment where you're not judged. Myself, Tristan, if you feel stressed, let it out. If you want to scream, you want to break something, as long as it's not too expensive. But if you want to whatever, you're not going to be judged in this moment. And so I think it's very important too in this time to show our families it's okay to not be okay. Yeah. But it's also not okay to stay that way, right? So we want to definitely change, and what's going to be the solution from this. So just being transparent again, I think is very important.
Yeah, that's dope, man. Yeah, man. I feel like, the level of where we're at as a society, like, I believe that is going to change a lot of lives, as it already has. I believe that if people, hone in on, what you're saying, what I'm saying here, and really take it serious at the end of the day. Like, people just have to take life a little bit more serious. I believe that we live in a world where we go to work, we get on social media, we come home, and that's it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like we live in this fast-paced world, right? Like, look at what we got. We got Instagram, instant, Snapchat, snap, you know what I'm saying? Like TikTok, tick. Like, everything is so quick. Like, when you got started, when you left the NFL or left football, did it slow you down? Did you take time to just reevaluate and just slow down to figure out what the plan was?
Yep, I did. I don't know if I would say, because I don't know if I had a plan. I probably, matter of fact, I know I didn't. My only plan was because I went through a period of depression. And so I was in my parents' house. I remember I had a studio set up, and I was in the music, still in the music, but I was really in the music at that time. So I would just go to the studio. I would honestly go outside, or just be coming in from going out to the club under the influence. And I was just sitting there, and it came to a day where I was like, nobody really cares, and obviously people in my life cared. But what I was saying to myself was, the world is still moving on. And so you can keep sitting here being depressed, but your situation is not going to change. And that's where my tagline came from. It all starts with you. Wow. I literally looked myself in the mirror and said, it all starts with you. And from that moment, I knew I had to go on a journey. And I'm still on this journey, by the way, of getting to know who I am at my core. And that's where it started. Like, who is Trent Shelton at the core? like stripped away from, you know, all these things that have influenced me my whole life. And who am I at the core? Like, what is my core being? And I'm still in that journey. You know, I definitely made a lot of progression in finding out who I am more. But that was the pause for me. And I think, like you said, too many times people don't even know who they are.
Right.
And so when we don't know how to deal with our emotions, we don't know who we are. We don't know where anger comes from or where this comes from. I'm always evaluating. Like when I'm frustrated, I'm like, okay, where is this frustration coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And I try to get down to the root. But most people just, okay, I'm angry. I'm just angry.
Right.
And they just going about their life.
And
They stack it.
Yeah. And they keep stacking that anger. My pastor, we had a conversation and he taught me something about anger. And the root of the word anger comes, you know, from the Hebrew language. God is actually asking a question. So the word anger, God is asking a question, where's the Father? Right?
Wow.
And then fear is also asking a question. God is asking a question with the word fear, and he's asking, where's the mother? Right? So when we're angry and we're looking at, you know, people in their anger, the first question we should ask ourselves is, where's the Father? You know, and no matter what we're going through, it could be let me phrase it like this. If you have your father in your life, more times than not, you're going to be very slow to anger, you know, versus if you don't have your father in your life, you're going to be very quick, you know, to anger because, you know what I'm saying? You ever see that?
Yeah.
Like, have you dealt with people in life or whatever? Can you, you know, add on to?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. That you said that, you know, I never heard it broken down that way, but that's powerful, man, because I was just sitting there thinking, and yeah, man, I mean, a lot of people that I know like are guided by anger usually doesn't have fathers. I mean, we look at our community, you know, like you look at it, and kids that I coach that are fatherless and kids that, you know, their fathers aren't at the games or at practice, those are the kids that usually get get angry very quickly. And so that's interesting, man. Like, I think, that's facts.
It's deep. And I don't know if you watch All American, but
yeah.
So when you watch All American and then you see the Spencer, you see how much anger he has in like the first season, right? And why? Because his dad's not there. And that's my point. So to the men out there, you know, Trent and I, we chopping it up. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and all that. Listen, if you're not there for your child and you don't want 10 years later or whatever, come back and somebody's come knocking at your door angry, listen, you got to be in that life. You got to be there. You got to, you know, listen, if you got a problem with, I don't like saying this word, but your baby mom or the mother of your child, rather, you know, listen, man, like you got to learn how to fix that. They looking for that security. You know what I'm saying? And speaking of security, we learned that, you know, the first major need of a woman is security. The first major need of a man is honor. In your opinion, you know, how important is that in your relationship as well too?
I think I think it's right, the nail on the head, man. I think it's very important. You know, when I think about Maria, you know, even with her, you know, as we talk about love languages or her needs, definitely it's just feeling safe. Her thing is safe, you know, just all around, whether it be, and I don't think it's so much like with her just, okay, it's just financially, obviously that is a thing for all of us, you know, we got to live, but I think hers is just feeling safe. She lost her dad when she was a teenager. Her dad died in his sleep. And so she's always, you know, searched for that security from a male. And as far as with me, definitely, I'm big on honor. I'm big on just support. Like that's my love language. It's support. Like you can tell me, you can send me things and gifts. I'll appreciate it, but it's nothing like support and honest and honor and loyalty. Like that's everything to me. So I think that's very accurate.
That's dope, man. That's dope. Listen, man, we're here with Trent Shelton, man. Listen, yo, I love like chopping up with you. So when was it when you first went viral? Like when was like the first video that took off? Yeah. And how did you feel when it happened too?
Man, it's crazy. It had to be okay. It's two videos. It was two videos. One was breaking your own heart video. That was like at that time, like viral for me at that time. I think it had over 1 million some views. Breaking your own heart. And then my big video that like went like out of this world was Friends, my spoken word Friends. And it was crazy, man. It's just, I don't know, even to this day, it's hard for me to even understand like the scope of the reach, right? Like I don't even understand it to this day. And I got to a place where I try not to understand. I just trust God with it, because it was like, man, why are these people like I'm just me? Like, I don't get it. Even though what I feel I put out is, I love to put it out, but it's just like somebody said, man, this video changed my whole entire life and all these things. So God gets the glory for it. And it made me happy, especially Friends, because that was so personal to me. And when I wrote it, and I was just hoping, I was like, man, I hope this really helps people in friendships. And so when it did that, like it really brought a lot of joy to my heart, like for sure. So viral for me is it impacting people. Like I don't care about the numbers, whatever, as long as it's impacting people and in a way that I hoped it would be, then that's always a bonus for me.
That's dope, man. This will be a last. We're gonna end it on this one. So you speak about keeping like a tight knit circle, like the right people in your life, and getting rid of the toxic people in your life. So for the new listeners, people that don't know you, give them that motivation, or advice on how to remove the toxic out of their life.
Yeah. So you got to ask yourself this question. Before you even ask this question, you got to think about every relationship in your life as bridges, right? It's leading you somewhere. And so what I had to realize in my life was, first of all, I had to take responsibility, because we always are in the blame. Like it's their fault, it's their fault. And even though that might be true, that they might have gave you a certain type of behavior,
right?
You're choosing to stay there, you're choosing to accept it. And as they always say, what you surround your life around is what you will become. Your environment is everything. The illustration I love to use is like a flower. You can have a flower that has the potential to be the most beautiful flower in the world. But if you put that flower in the wrong environment, what's going to happen to that flower?
Right.
It's going to die. It's going to wither away. But if you put that flower in the right environment, that flower will blossom. And so you have to think of your life as that flower and ask yourself real questions like, are the people around me, first of all, am I the person or the people that I want them to be to me, right? It starts with you. But then ask yourself, are the people around me people that I want to become, right? Mindsets are contagious. So ask yourself, do I want to catch what that person has? And if your answer is no, then I would think about changing your circle. And so what you can do is you can think about it like bridges. Are these people leading you towards, accountability? Are they leading you towards, growth? Are they supporting you? Are they leading you back to destruction? Are they leading you back to pain? And I say burn those bridges. People say don't burn bridges. And I understand that logic, because you shouldn't burn bridges over small things. You never know. But there's certain bridges in your life that need to be burned, because there's certain things your life cannot afford to go back to. And the longer you keep those bridges in your life that need to be burned, it prevents you from building the bridges in your life that need to be built. You know, so it's like my past relationships. If I would never let go of those past relationships, I wouldn't be married. Right. If I wouldn't let go of those past friends in my life, I wouldn't have a strong team now. So it takes letting go so you can receive something better for your life. So it's hard, but it's necessary.
There it is. I'm going to say, I know I said that was going to be the last question, but this one just dropped in my spirit real quick. Yo, listen, Trent Shelton, imagine you're speaking to every person on the planet right now as we're going through, COVID-19. Give, the world, that one statement that you can say that's going to uplift them and bring them to, a positive state of mind.
The statement that comes into my heart immediately is, God will allow you to go through things and places you don't understand and bring your life to the place where he needs you to be. And I would encourage everybody right now to think about the blessings that this virus is bringing to your life, because this virus has the power to destroy you mentally before it ever touches you physically. And it might touch you physically, but when we operate in a power perspective, right? So think about what are the great things going to be built because of this? Because the last time I checked, it's spring here in Texas. It came early, and my grass was brown a week ago. Right. It's been raining nonstop. I went outside today, my grass is green. The storm produced new growth, new life, a new beginning. So what is the new beginning, new life that this storm is going to produce in your life? And that's the only way to look at it, because a prison perspective doesn't serve your life at all.
Wow.
So don't be so focused on what you can't control. Pray about those things and focus on what you can control in this moment. And you can look back 3 years from now or 4 or 10 years from now and say, because of the coronavirus, I became this, which is to be something better. And that's why I look at it.
Yo, clap it up, man. I wish I had like a gong or something like that. I gotta get a gong or whatever. Write that down. We gotta get a gong or something. We gotta get a gong, because that joint was just legit fire right there, man. Like, you got me hyped like 9 o'clock at night, ready to go in. You know what I'm saying? Listen,
I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother. Where can everyone find you at?
Yeah, so website-wise, it's TrentShelton.com. Social media, just at Trent Shelton. I'll pop up, man. So, yeah, I appreciate it.
Word, man. Everybody, please make sure you go follow Trent Shelton. All my followers, all 102,000 of y'all, go light this man's page up right now. Go do it. You know what I'm saying? Listen, go ahead, like, subscribe, share this with your mama, your auntie, your uncle, your grandpa, your grandma, your granddaddy. I don't care, your niece, your aunt, your uncle, somebody, your stepmom, your stepdad, somebody. Go ahead and share this with everybody, a schoolmate, a classmate, whatever. Go ahead and share this with somebody, because the world needs to hear this message. We thank you, Trent Shelton. We love you, man. We appreciate you. Everyone, make sure you go ahead and donate. The description is going to be in the link below. Donate $1, a minimum of $1 or more, whatever you desire to help support the podcast. Once again, this is the Clutchvision podcast. When we change the mind, we change the game. We see y'all the next time. Peace.